Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers, or the Geeky Geezers. I don't know what your preference is, but you can have either one. But I am your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, and can we get I'm going to give out a hi, Nanette. Can I get a hi, Boomer?
Netter? He said hi. You want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, Boomer. Hi, everyone. How y'all doing?
Okay, I love that. Okay, good. I'm doing well tonight. We were. Looks like we got some guests in the house. We got Team Ghost Planet. We got Chris P. Hello, gents. Hello, chat. Hello, Chris P. Auditor Dread. Always good to see you. Hold on. Who else am I missing here? Oh, Rosefire. Welcome. Shalom. And she says the sky hasn't fallen yet, so now's a good time to start drinking. Oh, wait, I have to go to the mechanic tomorrow morning. You'll drink for me, okay? What do you say, Troy? What are you drinking? What are you sipping on?
I'm actually having a tab tonight. My stockpile of tab. I broke one out.
Remember on The Simpsons when Homer got to work, got to work from home and he hits tab on his computer and he says, "I hit tab. Where's the tab?" You know, he thought a tab would appear when he hit tab on the computer. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Daniel Heron, greetings. Okay, and let's see here. Yes, we are awesome people. Thank you. Okay, we're the ones who haven't screwed it up. Yes, yes. Well, we won't be negative tonight. I'm probably jinxing myself by saying that right now. Netters Network, again, hello, but welcome to the chat. Okay, so how's the week going? We had an interesting stream on your channel Friday. We got to learn about the other side of the pond.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that
talk
was
to
that
Matthew
was
Flynn.
yeah. We really started out with just talking about the difference between Halloween here and there, but it kind of spiraled out to all sorts of differences between life in the UK and life in the US.
I didn't know they celebrated Halloween in the UK. That's
Oh
interesting.
yeah, actually, we get a lot of our traditions from there. You know.
Well, yeah, I figured, but I know that we kind of Americanized it, and I
Oh
think the
yeah.
trick or treating is ours. I don't even think they have that in Ireland, do they? Yeah, but
Yeah.
you weren't into the trick or treating. You said though,
I went trick or treating a few times as a kid, and I remember one year being like really, having that I gotta get it all kind of attitude, like a door to door salesman kind of
yeah,
thing. And I
yeah,
really went for it. I'm
yeah.
like, okay, where else haven't I look at a map and stuff? And then by the end of it, I spread out all my candy on the table, and I'm like, 90% of this is stuff I don't even like, you know.
Like
So
Charleston Chew, that sort of thing.
I actually like Charleston Chew,
No,
but
no.
yeah, no. I mean, like there'd be those big popcorn balls or whatever they're called.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I hate those. I love
Oh,
popcorn. I hate those things, and they take up so much room in your bag.
I
And
use. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and anytime you came across something that was homemade, you're like, oh, that's sweet. That goes in the garbage.
Because of the media hysteria around that sort of stuff.
Well, just I wasn't even concerned about that. Even it's
You're
just
worried about it's
simple
not gonna be good.
logic, right? Even with the best of intentions, did they wash their hands?
Oh, I understand what you're
All that
saying.
kind of
Yeah,
stuff. So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
nah, it's not even worth it. Let's just
And heaven help if they gave me an apple, right?
right, exactly.
Or
Even
raisins.
Well, not only that, I mean, like you get an apple and you're like, oh yeah, this is all bruised up. It's an old apple. It's like, And my mom just made the excellent point. She's like, it doesn't. This candy isn't that expensive. What kind of candy you want? We'll go get you some candy, and that's what you have because you get exactly what you want. And I'm like, and that was like a good life lesson. It's like you try to get stuff for free, you get what people give you. If you want something, just go buy it yourself and you will always be happier. Yeah, Netter's pouring herself some Cheez-Its and she just held them up. And I'm like, exactly. You want some Cheez-Its? Go get yourself some damn Cheez-Its and you'll be happy.
Yeah, but it's about the element of surprise. Like, you might find candies you've never heard of. Like,
Surprise is overrated.
okay, anyways. Halloween, bah ha ha ha. I need to find an appropriate place where I can wear my steampunk outfit. Well, Rosefire, if you have a Ghostbusters steampunk outfit, you could wear it to the Ghostbusters premiere when it comes out.
That actually would be a great idea.
Yeah.
I could totally see like a bunch of copper wires and stuff on your back.
I've seen that there are versions of the Ghostbusters outfit that's in steampunk style. There are people that made that before. Have you heard
That's
of that?
brilliant.
Yeah.
That's I've seen. I love really classic mashups like that. I've seen. Well, let's face it. Nanette and I used to be very, very involved in the biggest steampunk convention here in the Chicagoland area, and so I would see like steampunk Star Wars characters and all kinds of things. And the group we were with was even seriously considering doing a Steampunk Avengers, and then we just kind of got out of it. There's always politics in every group that you're in.
Of course.
But
the Hulk needs to have a long mustache. Like a
yeah,
turn of the
exactly.
century, like work. That's what I would have done.
That's
Zootopia,
exactly
welcome. Let's see. Oh, Rosefire's gonna. Did you ever get the banana Laffy Taffy ever Blitz? Yeah, I have to tell you something. Banana flavored candy, I'm not feeling it. I used to like this candy called Run Sprite from Willy Wonka, except for the banana pieces. I'm like, no.
I loved banana taffy. I really did.
Okay, so I guess there was an audience for it. Okay,
and there is I kind of inherited the love for it from my mother, because she said, and for years I didn't understand this. She says, this tastes like real bananas. And she's like, bananas used to taste differently when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh, you're crazy. Bananas are bananas, right? Come to find out, that's not true. The bananas that we eat today are a completely different strain of bananas than what my mom and previous generations had.
What?
You didn't know that? Yeah,
no.
Look it up. There was the banana crops throughout the world were wiped out by this like fungus. And the bananas we have today are ones that were resistant to it. And they're not as sweet, and they taste just a little bit different. So all the candies, the artificially flavored banana flavors, are based on those older style bananas.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yep.
Jake loves banana taffy. Well, you're not alone, Troy. Mr. Matchstick, welcome. Rose Pyre says, fine. You can have all the banana flavored stuff. Just give me strawberry stuff and we'll call it a day. Some people don't like the strawberry stuff either. Like my sister will not eat strawberry flavored candy. She's like,
so
no.
like I like strawberry. There's only specific artificial
like strawberry
stuff
starburst. Ever have those?
Sure. That's a perfect example. I like those. Some of the strawberry taffies that are like that. But let me tell you something. I had a strawberry daiquiri mix. That stuff was horrible. I dumped the whole bottle out. I was like, I will never do this again. Next time I have a strawberry daiquiri, I'm making it with real damn strawberries.
Yeah, well, that's the way to go, right?
Because oh my god, it was like rum and bleach. I was like, oh god, I just ruined my rum.
Huh. Okay, well, it all goes down the same way, though, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, after you've had enough of them, it's like you don't care what it tastes like anymore.
Anyways, so we have a good old days topic tonight, right?
Yep.
Not something I'm too familiar with, but I figured you could maybe enlighten me. Maybe I'd give you a Q&A.
I can help you out with this.
Bozo the Clown?
Bozo the Clown. Yeah. This is a great little memory of mine from my childhood. Bozo the Clown was I consider him to be kind of a national treasure, right? He started, I want to say, on the East Coast. I'm not entirely certain. Back in like 1949, 1950. Really? My mother told me that she remembered growing up with Bozo, right? And they even had an animated series that I remember seeing in syndication as a kid in... I mean, obviously, I didn't see it when it first came out. It was like late 50s, early 60s. But the reruns of it I saw as a kid. And if I remember correctly, that cartoon featured the voice of Paul Frees that a lot of you guys would remember from those Christmas cartoons, growing up, the stop motion animation and all that.
Oh,
kind
like
of stuff.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
and all that. Yeah.
Exactly, all that kind of stuff. But Paul Frees did a lot of that. So, but yeah, I had some of the record books and all that were based on that particular cartoon. But the idea was that there was a Bozo character, right? This clown for hosting kids' television shows, and they had them, all over the country. So the major cities all had their own Bozo the Clown. Now, where it gets really interesting is actually, I don't remember who the first one was in Chicago back in the 50s and whatnot. But in 1960, a guy by the name of Bob Bell took over as Bozo here in the Chicagoland area. Now, if you're from outside Chicago, the name Bob Bell probably means nothing to you. But you know his influence. His time as Bozo was the direct inspiration of Krusty the Clown. Yes, the voice of Bob Bell, and his characterization of Bozo was the direct inspiration for Krusty the Clown. Because Bob Bell was a big smoker, big drinker, and you could definitely hear it in his voice. When he was on, but when he was backstage, he was basically Krusty the Clown. Oh, leave me alone, kid. That kind of,
they want an autograph or something, and he'd be like,
well, let me not. He wasn't a jerk, right? I mean, when kids would come up to him for an autograph, he was on, and he was Bozo. But when he was backstage or when he was not in costume, he was an old grizzled kind of guy, and it's just leave me alone, But he took his time as Bozo seriously, and his persona, when he was in character, and he was there for the kids. He wasn't an asshole or anything. It's just I mean, come on, give him a break. He was a human being. I think it was in like 1984, I think it was. I remember that he was retiring, and I was really bummed. And they brought in a new actor to play the role, Joey Daria or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest change was his voice. I mean, he stopped sounding like this, and he started sounding a lot more like this. It was very, very jarring. But I guess what really kept the continuity was the sidekick character of Cookie the Clown, played by Roy Brown. He was really my favorite. Okay, so if you know anything about clowns, you always have the happy clown and the sad clown, right? You have the one with the white face that is the one that puts a pie in your face, and then there was the skin colored, the tan colored, not as happy clown that was always the one taking the pie in the face. Well, that was Cookie. Okay,
why was he called Cookie?
Because this was the meta thing about the circus, right? Bozo's Circus was a circus, right? Even though it was a permanent fixture, it was like a traveling circus, right? And you had Bozo the Clown, you had Cookie the Cook. He literally cooked for the people in the circus, right? And they had other performers that, like the band members, when they changed the band, they had the ringmaster Ned, and so forth. Yeah, so Cookie was the cook. The Cookie who cooked for, and sometimes some of the gags that they would do would be in his kitchen, which, was part of the thing. But the whole idea was that every week the show would end with the Grand March, and Bozo would take out the big baton, and he would lead the Grand March, which was basically all the kids in the stands, and they would all file out and follow him out in this big, march with the music and the da-da-da-da as the closing credits went and everything. And the shtick was that Cookie always wanted to lead the Grand March. And there was always a sketch towards the end where he's like, I want to lead the Grand March this time, Bozo. And Bozo would be like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then... And then there'd be a shtick where he'd, set him up and, play a prank on him and makes it so that Cookie can't lead the Grand March, so... whatever. And it's a bummer. It's like you were really rooting for Cookie to be able to lead the Grand March. And
here, just eat this bowl of cereal. Oh, it's dog kibble.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yes.
But and then of course he'd have to run away and be sick, and then he wouldn't be able to lead the Grand March. But gosh, I'm going to get a little emotional here. The last episode. In that spot where you're expecting the shtick to come up, he goes, man, this is the last one. And I've always wanted to lead the Grand March. And Bozo says, I know you did, buddy. Why don't you do it? And he hands him the baton. He's like, really? What's the joke? What's the joke? Pull the rug out from under me? He goes, not this time, buddy. Go for it. And Cookie leads the Grand March out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did he smile as he did it too?
Of course he did. But I tell you, the show was played at different times because they had different iterations of the show. Sometimes it was a weekly show. Sometimes it was a daily, weekday type of thing. But growing up, I remember it being a morning show every morning. And that was the show the kids would be watching over their breakfast cereal before school. And in the wintertime, that was where you would get your announcement of what schools were closed for, inclement weather.
Mm-hmm.
That was always a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, when Bozo's the one telling you don't got to go to school today, kids, that was the exciting thing.
Yeah, the kids would probably scream yay all at once, right?
But there was another iteration of the show. Maybe it was the same show actually, because it went on for a couple hours. I think it was like a 3-hour show because it was just little segments of the live action clowns, and in between there was like cartoons, syndicated cartoons and whatnot,
like Tom and Jerry, that sort of thing. Or
well, I don't think Tom and Jerry was one, but they had gosh, I'm really taxing my memory. They had a lot of the like Huckleberry Hound.
Oh, right, Chilly Willy.
Clutch Cargo was in there too. Yeah,
Johnny
Quest. Yeah,
okay,
I mean it's like whatever they could get, the rights to. But yeah, there was a lot of Hanna-Barbera ones in there, as I recall. But when I was much younger, before I started school. That age where you would still take naps in the middle of the day and your mother would put you down for a scheduled nap time. I remember my nap time was right after the Grand March. So as the Grand March would be happening, we'd get up and we'd march, and I'd march off to bed to take my nap. But then when I was in school, I never got to see the Grand March usually because I had to go to school, but I'd be listening for that. Nope, you don't have to go to school because of so much snow. But
that must be like almost like as anticipated as like Christmas morning when you get to hear that.
Kinda
that march. Yeah, okay.
And the other big segment that was really great was Bozo's grand prize game. Okay, so the grand prize game, you might have heard it called Bozo Buckets, right? And it was they would pick a little boy and a little girl from the audience. And what you would do, the kid would come down, and each one of them would pick a name from a big drum that had kids had mailed in their name and address to be part of the grand prize game, in quotes, playing from home. So any prizes this kid won on the show would also be sent to the kid at home. And so these kids would go up and they'd have to put their feet on the line. They'd take a ping pong ball, they drop it in bucket number 1, and then they'd bring out the prize that was won. And these were all prizes that were donated usually by local people and,
businesses and whatnot.
Yeah, it was sponsors, Right. And as the buckets would get farther and farther away, it'd be a bigger and bigger one. And the last bucket was always a brand new crisp $50 bill, and you'd see Bozo put it in at the beginning, and a brand new Schwinn bicycle.
What?
That was yeah. Which was almost never won. It was very rarely won. Schwinn had a great shtick there because they would get, the credit every single episode that you could win a Schwinn bicycle, but they only had to give away a few a year because it wasn't often that the kids would be big enough and old enough and skillful enough to get to that sixth bucket.
I bet the kids at home were like, I want that Schwinn bicycle,
Yeah, and then you'd see the kid was like 2 years old and, couldn't even get it in the first bucket. First bucket was usually like, I don't remember.
Easy bake oven.
Well, Easy Bake Oven was a little bit down there, but I remember that for a long time, this is going to be another thing you might not know about, was a Bun Candy Bar. Did you ever hear of Bun Candy Bars?
Never heard of it.
Okay. So what's interesting is they were round patties of peanuts and nougat and chocolate, and sometimes there was a maple flavor, sometimes there was a caramel flavor. They had different flavors. This was fairly Chicago local, but
Okay.
Bun Candy Bar supported them for the longest time. So I remember Bun Candy Bar as being from, the first bucket of the Bozo bucket. And if the kid was little and couldn't even figure out how to get it in the first bucket and they missed, Bozo would look and go, wait a minute. I just noticed this ping pong ball has a divot in it, and he'd squeeze his thumb into it. See, that's not fair. Let's throw that one away. Take another ball and try again. So you always got at least that first bucket. So the kid at home always got his Bun Candy Bar or whatever it was. But in fact, I'm pretty sure that if you were to do a little search online, there's got to be footage of that grand prize game, because there was a couple of them where the kid, being little, just could not be kept behind the line. Go put it in bucket number 2, and they literally walk over and put it in bucket 2, and he'd be like, no, wait, and then he'd just go ahead and, well, I guess we got to give him the prize. Cookie was the guy that brings in the prize, and every bucket he was laughing harder and harder, and he goes, dude, this is your problem, not mine. I'm just carrying the prize.
I'd walk it over to that Schwinn bicycle bucket.
Well, I don't think they let him get that far, Finally, the kid just took it and threw it, and he's like, "Oh, you lose. Sorry, we're done." And he's like, "Kid, stop! I'm gonna lose my job."
The little girl did.
Did she?
The little girl, she was like 4 years old. She walked over.
I've got to look. Yeah, I've got to look and see if I can find it online, because that is just one of the funniest sketches, and just seeing them cracking up. Please understand, I'm going to lose my job if you don't keep your feet behind the line and throw it to bucket number whatever. Nope, zip, put it in.
Then there was a little boy who decided to skip all all five.
Skipped all of them, put it right into the last one.
No, he walked over to bucket number 6 and dropped the ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He jumped right to the last one. Why screw around? I know what I'm aiming for.
Oh man. Okay.
But yeah, so those are some of my favorite Bozo memories. He's a Chicago institution. But yeah, so you've never seen any of Bozo?
No, I'm not familiar with Bozo at all. But it sounds neat. By the way, there's an Auditor Dread comment I'd like you to read.
Go ahead.
Put it up on the screen.
Bring it up.
Okay. If I can bring it up here. Okay.
Let's see.
Oh wait, that's not. Oh yeah, here we go. They go ahead.
Man goes to doctor, says he's depressed, says life seems harsh and cruel, says he feels all alone in a threatening world where what lies ahead is vague and uncertain. Doctor says, treatment is simple. Great clown Pagliacci is in town tonight. Go and see him. That should pick you up. Man bursts into tears. Says, but doctor, I am Pagliacci. Yeah, I've heard that one before. Yeah, that's classic.
All right, but Bozo the Clown. But we have some Bozo the Clown news tonight,
Yes,
don't
we do.
Okay.
This one just, you shared it with me, and I was just sitting there for like a minute going.
I guess I did. Oh, because you had talked about Bozo to me before.
Yeah.
I saw this headline, and then it's, I got to send this to Troy. I don't think I was even thinking for Geeky Geezers, but yeah.
No, but when I saw it, I'm like, this is the kind of thing that I don't think our audience is going to hear about or talk about, really.
Exactly.
So we should probably mention it just, to set ourselves apart from the crowd. And
yeah, there's some Bozo.
It was a head scratcher for me because I was like, well, that's different. Was not expecting that.
Yeah. Bozo the Clown writes, sold to David Arquette. I think some of you may know him. He was Deputy Dewey in the Scream movies, correct?
I suppose you could know him as that. Yeah,
I'm not sure what else he's been in, but he's one of the Arquettes. Okay, but this is out of Chicago. A familiar name is
he was married to that girl from the Bruce Springsteen commercial or
from Friends.
video.
Friends, Courtney Cox. Yes.
Courtney Cox, that's her. Yeah.
Okay, familiar name is now the owner of WGN TV and Chicago's most beloved characters. For the first time in 65 years, the ownership rights to the Bozo character, have been sold to actor David Arquette. He's been a lifetime fan of the character and purchased the rights from Larry Harmon Pictures, who bought it from Capitol Records that created Bozo back in 1946. At one time, there were Bozo shows on TV stations all over America,
like I was saying,
and even around the world. I wonder if they got him over in the UK, but I guess Matthew Flynn didn't recognize him, right? But Arquette said, Bozo represents a world of love, light, and laughter, something we can all use more of right now. Well, I
dig that.
Can't disagree with him there. For now, Arquette is planning to create a circus interactive experience that will include Bozo. Empire Circus will debut in Brooklyn in November. WGN has licensing rights to the character in Chicago since 1959. WGN TV's Bozo show had a 40-year run with a 10-year waiting list for studio audience tickets and is recognized as the most popular and successful locally produced children's show in the history of television. Okay. That's can you imagine?
Yeah.
10
That's
years?
actually something I forgot to mention. My mom actually put my name in on that waiting list when I was born.
By the time, okay, I was supposed to say you're 18.
No, when I was born.
Okay.
And it eventually got to the point where it was like, okay, either my name's lost or it's just not happening. And I suspect, like anything else in Chicago, you had to know somebody.
Ooh. So anyway, what do we think? I know some people might be trepidatious because they're bringing Bozo back, and maybe they're not going to do it right. But I don't know. I guess we know nothing about it right now.
Yeah,
that's what we're saying.
Yeah, until we actually, I gotta say, nothing is happening with the character. So, I mean, something better than nothing. I mean, this is the kind of thing that, as he said, we kind of need these days. We could definitely use more laughter. I feel like there were so many great stories, little gags, little jokes. Another clown that I don't know if the rights for this clown would actually be involved in this, but Wizzo the Wizard, played by Marshall Brodeen, was a staple of the Bozo show for years. If you remember TV Magic Cards, that was Marshall Brodeen.
Interesting.
And I'd love to.
Magic cards.
Yeah, that's what I said. And like I said, Nanette's dad. Yeah, you're 30 seconds behind us. Nanette's dad knew Marshall Brodeen. So yeah, I mean, I kind of want to see that again. I really miss that. And like you said, there is still that licensing agreement with WGN. I hope WGN gets to do something with that. But actually, I would not be opposed to some sort of a kids show or a. I mean, I hesitate to say this, but a movie. I'm just afraid they do something. Yeah, I'm just afraid they do something stupid. Like,
well, I hope it's better than that Three Stooges movie.
Well, I was going to say, I'm afraid that they do something like they did with Banana Splits, turn it into a horror movie or something. It's like, I don't want that.
What, like Bozo's like attacking kids or something? No.
I don't know.
That Junkman's in the chat. Welcome. Have I seen you here before? If not, welcome to the chat. I heard a beer can being opened. Is that true?
It was not a beer can. I got to work tomorrow. If you would catch us on a Friday or Saturday night, it might have been. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you have the fancy cherries. What do you call those cherries again?
Drunken cherries.
Drunken cherries. Okay, Horizon Talker, welcome. Okay, I'm surprised Disney hasn't gobbled up Bozo yet. Well, they gobbled up the Muppets, and what do they do with them? Okay, am I wrong?
I'm sorry. Say that again. I was reading the chat.
Nothing. Disney. Rosefire is asking. I'm surprised Disney hasn't gobbled up Bozo yet, but they gobbled up the Muppets. They have the Muppets, and what do they do with them?
And they're doing nothing with them.
So
yeah.
I don't.
So here's the thing. When you hear that an individual has bought something like David Arquette, as opposed to a company like Disney, I have a little bit more hope for it because, what's he been doing? I don't think he's just buying it for an investment reason.
He probably wants to actually do something.
He's apparently buying it for a personal reason. Like it's a passion of his. And that's usually a pretty good sign, right?
So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt until I hear otherwise. Okay, so let's. I'm trying to think what else I've seen him in besides the Scream movies. I'm trying to think, but he was in television shows too. I think I'm not sure, but as long as, like you said, it's not going to be like a Banana Split sort of thing, right?
So I get where you're coming from, Melissa, and I understand your concerns. There's been a lot of our favorite things kind of, pissed on with remakes and modern entertainment industry and stuff. But let's kind of hope for the best. Prepare for the worst, that's fine, but let's still hope for the best. We have no specific reason to believe he's going to do anything.
We know nothing about it at this point.
Yeah.
We just know that apparently he's a fan and that he wants to bring him back. So we'll see what happens.
Right now, I find that actually encouraging. The idea of bringing Bozo back. I've kind of missed him,
Do clowns still bring children laughter? I'm genuinely curious, as films like It, Joker, Clown, etc. have made them horror icons. I have to say, the clown has kind of been
well, I can
dragged
speak
through the mud recently. Go ahead, speak to it. Yeah,
I can speak to that. There is a lot of people that are afraid of clowns, okay? And so they are common fodder, to turn into for horror, right? You brought up It, right? The whole point behind It is that character wasn't actually a clown. It was some eldritch horror that reaches into your mind, sees what you're afraid of, and becomes that, right? And that wasn't new. That wasn't something that Stephen King came up with. Poltergeist did that before he did, right? The whole tagline was, it knows what scares you. And so this kid has this clown that looks a little creepy in his room, and it scares the crap out of him, and he, to the point where he would even cover it up with his jacket, right? So then it comes to life because this poltergeist knows what scares you and attacks you. Well, because that is your fear. But I don't think that clowns are meant to be that way.
Yeah, if you ever went to Ringling's Brothers Circus, they're meant for laughs.
But, in fairness, the same kind of thing that scares you about clowns is the same reason why kids cry. They're afraid of Santa Claus. They're afraid of the Easter Bunny, when you go and put them on their lap. It's like, they look human, but they don't look human. That uncanny valley that we talk about, much bigger with kids. They know what people are supposed to look like. Person with a mask or makeup or even a big beard that they're not used to seeing or whatever scares the crap out of them. It's unreal to them. So, it really takes a children's performer, okay, who cares about kids, and I've seen this. I have seen this many, many times with people that do Santa Claus, people that are clowns, that know how to work through kids. And what they usually do is they get sad. And they go, I'm so hurt that you don't like me. Why don't you like me? And oftentimes I will see kids, uh-oh, I didn't mean to upset him. Now, suddenly it's outside of them, right?
Perfect.
And by the end of that interaction, they're hugging the clown or they're hugging Santa. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to upset you.
There you go.
And it's just like the dentist, right? You have a bad experience with the dentist, you're going to hate dentists all your life. You get one dentist that goes, look, I know this hurts. I'm going to do my best. Work with me and we'll get through this, you know? Okay, well, now I don't ever want another dentist. I want this guy all the time. So it's the same kind of thing. I think there's a lot of people out there that are afraid of clowns, that pivot into it, want to do the horror movie. But I think there absolutely is a place for the clown that really is the friend of children, just wants to make you smile.
To be fair, even on Batman the Animated Series, you had the Joker, but then you also had Batman and Dick Grayson. I think Dick Grayson goes back to the original circus his family was a part of, and because they're investigating something, and they're clowns there, and the clowns are fine and funny, perfectly normal. So I think even on Batman, they made distinguish. No, the Joker's just his own thing. Not all clowns are like him. It's But I did want to make a point though. One time I was at SeaWorld years ago. And this wasn't a clown. I guess this would be considered a mime, right? Because there was no sound, right? Everything was pantomime. This mime, he looked like, I think, Harpo Marx, the guy with the blonde hair. He was brilliant. Because basically we're all lining up for this show, which is supposed to be like a Polynesian theater show, like hula dancing and stuff like that, right? But and like fire dancing and stuff like that. But no, this guy comes in and he's messing with the audience as we're all taking our seats. And like let's say like this husband had to get up for a minute, left his wife there, and so then the mime sits down next to the wife and pretends to be the husband.
Yeah.
And like he says, get up, and it's like no. And like if someone's or sit down next to somebody and they'll be talking and like he'll be miming the exact same expression as the person's doing while they're. I was terrified he was going to come near me. Okay, hilarious. This guy, whoever they got, brilliant. And I guess miming is a type of, clown work maybe.
Sure, it is. Absolutely.
The mime community might scream at me, but yeah,
it's
he was hilarious.
Physical comedy.
He was hilarious. So
But that's exactly it. It is physical comedy. But it is comedy. We were talking back in the green room about the fact that they actually have clown schools. I mean, you anybody could slap on some makeup and say I'm a clown, but there is a skill that goes with it, a performance ability that deserves honor. And you're not. I mean, anyone can get up in front of a karaoke mic and sing. That doesn't make you a professional singer. I mean, same thing.
A little while back, we were talking about Gene Wilder and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, how that type of acting too, the physical performances, and even with like on Doctor Who, you could tell some doctors, I could swear they must have had clown training, like Patrick Troughton, even Matt Smith. I got that suspicion that he had.
I think Patrick Troughton is a great example. In fact, I would say I think that Cookie the Clown reminds me a lot of Patrick Troughton's second Doctor character, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, wish for the best for Bozo. David Arquette, make us proud, okay? We'll see what happens, all right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay. But other news, Hollywood news this week. There's no real easy way to segue into this.
Let's get into the real news, right?
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty stuff, not the happy stuff. Okay. IATSE Chief Matt Loeb tells members a deal or a strike is days, not weeks away. Talks to resume Saturday. Yeah. What is going on? There is another Hollywood strike about to happen. This is from Deadline.
No, it's already happened.
Okay, you mean it's going on? It is happening now?
It is happening right now.
Okay,
It's
so
just
this might
that
be
they are
outdated.
currently in negotiations, and they expect that it's not going to take a long time. This is some serious issues. I think people that listen to this show know I tend to be pretty conservative, pretty, right-ish, libertarian on social issues, but when it comes to economy, very, very conservative. Not a big labor union kind of guy. I believe in collective bargaining, but I also believe that when you're done bargaining, you break up the union, and your union should not be institutionalized and become an entity in and of itself that exists to perpetuate its own interests, right?
Right.
When negotiation time comes along, you form a union, you put someone in charge, you go and you negotiate, and then it's done, But put all that aside, I do believe that sometimes people have some absolutely, real grievances, and these are skilled laborers that you really can't have an industry without. And when you really, and we're not talking about, Scarlett Johansson, wanting another $20 million. We're talking about the guys that work the scaffolding and the gaffing and the sound equipment and stuff that make sure that the actors don't get hurt by, falling lighting fixtures and stuff like that, that make things safe.
And they had some complaints. A lot of stuff like 12-hour work days. That was one complaint.
Oh, that's at the short side. It's more like 18-hour work days. Yeah. And then you go and you get 3 hours sleep, and then you got to be back on set because they're the first ones on and the last ones off.
And that's dangerous.
It's incredibly dangerous. Do you want the guy holding let's say the guy that's, you're a superhero doing flying scenes, the guy holding you in the air and doing the wire work. Do you want to know that he's only had 3 hours of sleep the night before? No.
Yeah, and he'll be the one to get blamed if something goes wrong.
Exactly. Your life is in his hands.
So I'll go to read a little bit from the article. IATSC and the AMPTP have concluded their fourth day of do or die bargaining and will resume negotiations on a new film and TV contract on Saturday. But if a deal is to be reached and a strike averted, it will have to be made soon. It's a matter of days, not weeks, President Matthew Loeb said tonight. And after 4 days of bargaining, talks will conclude on Friday without an agreement being reached. Negotiations resume Saturday. So it looks like they're, and you said that since then that basically the strike is happening. Is that what you were saying? I should have done a follow-up.
Actually, what had happened was last week they were on strike. And then they said for Saturday, they said, well, we're going to go back to the negotiation table. So it sounded like both sides were trying to be amicable to each other. We'll continue working while the negotiations go on and, whatever. But I think it's very clear that what the message was that they were sending is if we don't get our needs met and in very, very short order, we're going on strike and we're going to really stick you to it. And it's not the kind of thing where you just go, well, we'll just get a few more people off the street to fill those roles. I mean, we're not just talking, union rules and, legal reasons that you can't. No, we're talking skilled laborers that you can't just, hire off the street.
No, changing out film. I know a lot of people are using HD cameras, but like regular film cameras, that's a skill you have to learn how to do, and you got to learn how to do it quickly.
Or the technical stuff like sound mixing and sound editing design. And look,
Well, you're doing the sound stuff on the set when you have to get the sound on the set in case you're doing live mic work and everything else.
These are the kinds of things that you notice when they're not right. When you go to, you heard me talking on one of my streams, about Les Miserables and Cats being turned into movies that were just a whole world of suck because, the people behind them didn't understand music and sound and editing and, all these kinds of things. Those things matter. And that's what's kind of tragic. You know, you watch these big blockbuster films and you're staying until the end of the credits because, you know, you want to see the little stinger at the end. But you see all these names going by doing jobs you don't even know what they are for the most part. And those are the unsung heroes that if their job wasn't done right, you would notice it. But you never do notice it because their jobs are done right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've seen some videos about the sound guys. You know, you hear, you know, you watch a scene, okay? Something as simple as somebody walking along, talking to somebody, picking something up, moving it, da-da-da-da-da. The fact that you don't, that you do hear sound, you do hear footsteps, but they don't take up the whole soundtrack, right? You see them mixing a drink, and it's not just all, you know, glass and ice cubes clattering. Oh, and you can't hear their voice, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but that is such a loud noise that the prop guys actually have silent ice cubes made out of acrylic for those scenes. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
Okay.
When they have when you have somebody carrying groceries, those bags are specially treated to not crinkle and make noise.
Yeah. Well,
Because otherwise that's all you would hear in those scenes. I mean, these little things that you never think about. You know, that's
set design, building sets.
Yep.
A lot of these things, it looks like a real apartment. No, it's not. It's a set that somebody built. You know?
Or you know the set of the bridge of the Enterprise, or the corridors of the Shalako, or these fantasy sci-fi fantasy settings that don't exist otherwise. They're really just plywood and paint, but they're made to look like steel girders and, you know, whatever.
Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned that, though, because the Red Letter Media guys, he was so obsessed that he was examining the design of them on the Blu-rays and saying, I can kind of see where something might have gotten smudged there, you know? You know what I mean? Like, he was but of course, that's part of the charm on TNG. But TNG looked very good, actually. No,
well,
they were nitpicking, you know.
There's a prop guy that I follow on YouTube who was one of the prop masters for a lot of the Star Trek shows and some other shows too, and he'll show, you know, the pieces of a prop and talk about the history of it, how it was made. This particular prop, you'll notice that this body was used as this phaser, but it was also used by this alien race as a hypo spray, and, you know, this and that. This piece we crafted, and this piece was, you know, taken from a hair dryer and, you know, ballpoint pen. You know, I mean, it's really amazing stuff.
Oh, look, Rosefire, and you've got the makeup artists, people making costumes for hundreds of characters.
Yeah.
Musicians playing the big epic scores to the soundtracks, construction workers building huge sets. I have to tell you, too, do you know who's known as being one of the most notorious people for, I mean, his movies look great, but just not necessarily being rather harsh as James Cameron. That's what I've heard.
I've heard that. Yeah, nobody likes to work with him. Yeah.
Like people. I think one guy that worked on a set, he was so sleep exhausted he died in a car crash on the way home.
Yeah,
just little things.
And that's exactly the kind of stuff that these people are fighting against. Because it's like, look, you know, I have to finish my job and go home. That's why. But on the other end of that, let's hold up the directors that you know, people like to work with. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, everybody loves working with him. You know why? He has his filming day. At the end of the day, cut. We're done for the day. Go home. Everybody.
George Romero, people used to like working under him because he would treat everybody like part of a family. That was one of his big thing, you know. So I wish them the best.
But I've even heard some, you know, over on Midnight's Edge, Script Doctor was talking a little bit about his experience with this behind the scenes.
Sure,
he was saying that, you know, you're only supposed to be working this many hours, right? But the way they get you to do it is the directors will hire really, really pretty girls that go around and go, you know, the director really, really needs to get one more shot in. Can you stay a little bit later? And just go around schmoozing them. Yeah, no.
Oh, my goodness.
And don't tell anyone. Let's keep this on the down low, okay?
Sure. You wanna get a cup of coffee after the shoot? No, I'm sorry.
I'll tell you. And tell me that isn't exactly where this kind of Me Too stuff starts happening, right?
Oh, sure.
You know, it's when you start going, trying to bend the rules and find ways around the rules, this is the kind of crap that ends up happening. And you're right. And then someone can end up dead. You hear about accidents happening, such and such star was injured on the, look at Harrison Ford gets hurt because, a door didn't work right on the Millennium Falcon, right?
Yep.
Somebody screwed up, and these are people that don't screw up. The only way that happens is they were probably sleep deprived.
I would love to know the horror stories on those Star Wars sequel sets. I bet it was something else. They must have had to sign non-disclosure agreements because
Oh, absolutely.
Stuff was going on behind.
And that's why this is where this is coming from. And these are the people that really freaking deserve it. And it's gotten really bad. I mean, this has always been bad, but it's gotten really bad since the whole Coof thing happened. Because now they're doing these crazy, stupid shoots. Well, we don't know when we're going to have another lockdown, so we got to put in, 14 hours today.
Rosefire is saying, is it guaranteed this will lead to fewer television shows and films being released in the near future? What do you think?
Well, let me answer that with a question. With the quality of shows that we've been getting, would that be a bad thing? I mean, really, we're at the point where it's like, I just don't care. Nanette and I don't have cable TV anymore. We don't watch network television anymore. All we really watch are movies and YouTube channels like Geeky Geezers. I joke, but I'm serious.
It's just like the old saying, like 100 channels and nothing good on.
Yeah, you remember the Pink Floyd line. I got 13 channels of shit on the TV to choose from. And that was before cable. Then it became 300 channels of shit on the TV to choose from. Yeah, no, it's a bunch of crap.
I kind of like the BBC stuff, or at least some of the stuff coming over from Britain, though. I am a sucker for Midsummer Murders. I'll admit that. Okay,
fair enough. But yeah, I at this point I'm thinking, I think the outcome is better than continuing under this paradigm. I would rather them shut down everything and get these things fixed. Right? I said this when the whole Scarlett Johansson thing was starting. She's the front line of something that was bound to happen anyway. And Bob Chapek even acknowledged that he was aware of it and wanted to get ahead of it, but she decided to jump the gun and do the lawsuit. We've got actors that are upset that they're not getting what they feel is their due because of the change in paradigm of streaming and so forth. Well, now you have actors support staff that are going, yeah, and you're also changing to try and make us work more hours with less pay or, not better pay. And we're not having it. We can't do this physically. There's only so much a human being can do. And if we walk away, and that's what a strike really is, it's letting the person you're negotiating with see very clearly how incapable they are of doing anything without you.
Yeah.
If I were to go on strike, nobody would care. Okay, they'd just hire some other schlub to, do data entry. But these people are highly skilled. You can't just replace them.
Yeah. Rosefire's like, when you put it that way, it isn't so bad. Hollywood has been going down the drain the last few years. Anyway, why not keep digging up the good old stuff? Well, yeah. I will defend Malignant with my dying breath. I don't care what people say about it. That was.
He's speaking at you, Big Al.
No, it's fine. It's a polarizing movie, but I have HBO Max now. Okay.
Hey, so. Big Al. I also heard that Aged Boomer said that Malignant is a Christmas movie.
No, it's not. Anyway,
I'm trying to start some shit.
I love it. If they do a sequel, they need to set it at Christmas time. But yeah, no. But anyway, going on to other things that could change Hollywood. How Friday the 13th's lawsuit could change Hollywood. Oh,
When I read this title, I said, "Oh, this is just hyperbole." It's not. It really, before you jump into this, let me set the stage for you. We talk about remakes, reboots, corruption of our favorite franchises and all this stuff, and we say that it's all SJW messaging and the arrogance of the writers and da 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 da. But one thing I think we overlook is that there are other things behind the scenes that are in play here that we don't normally see. For example, all the problems that Warner Brothers has had with Superman, and I would argue even the movies and the Snyderverse and New 52 and all the things we've hated about what they've done to Superman, you could look back to the lawsuit between DC Comics and the estates of Siegel and Schuster and see very clearly why they've made some of the bad decisions they have. I talked about this before when I was talking about CBS and Warner Brothers having a difficult time coming to an agreement on the Batman 66 series and why there was no release of them for many, many decades. And nobody was making any money off of them. Now they've come to an agreement and realized, hey, let's both profit from this. And you got Batman 66 stuff all over the place, right? And some of these things are starting to loosen up. That's why you see, the Christopher Reeve Superman in the comics again. You see the '89 Batman comic series coming out. But lawsuits have big, lasting impacts on franchises. And Friday the 13th is one that has been the licensing for this character and this franchise have been all over the place.
yeah. I'll read from the article.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rights to Friday the 13th have officially been ruled in favor of writer Victor Miller, and it could well inspire significant change in Hollywood. The rights to the 1980 horror classic Friday the 13th have been under contention for some time, with the film's writer Victor Miller attempting to regain the rights to the film that spawned the iconic franchise. The film's director-producer Sean S. Cunningham argued that Miller's work on the screenplay was a quote-unquote work-for-hire basis, meaning that he was ineligible to terminate copyrights, essentially that the rights never belonged to Miller in the first place. In 2018, it was ruled that the screenplay wasn't a work made for hire and that Miller's claim was valid. When Cunningham appealed the decision, it seemed that the rights to the film would remain mired in litigation, with some fearing the lawsuits would kill the Friday the 13th franchise. But it has now been definitively decided that Miller owns the rights to the film. The latest ruling deems Miller an independent contractor, not an employee, meaning that he has authorship rights over the original film's screenplay. This mirrors the ongoing legal issues of Disney Marvel over the rights to a number of characters, something which has long proved a barrier to the ever-growing MCU since dating back to before its conception.
Yeah.
What do you think?
These two lawsuits definitely go hand in hand. They're definitely related. I mentioned this last week when we talked about the Marvel thing, but I want to reiterate it because it is so important, just so you understand what this is. The concept of work for hire. Okay, if you are hired by a company and you create anything in the course of your work, they own it. Okay, if I am working for a company doing data entry or something, and I create a spreadsheet, for example, that makes my job a little bit easier, and I share that with my company, well, they own it. I don't get to claim some ownership of coming up with this process. This is their proprietary thing because it was something I created while employed by them. This, has been an argument for a long time with comic book companies. I created this character. Well, yeah, but you were working for Marvel Comics at the time. Well, there is a difference between directly working for. Are you an employee of Marvel Comics? Or are you an independent contractor? Mm-hmm. If you are an independent contractor, then you are not an employee of that company. You don't get the benefits. You don't get, health care. You don't get insurance and stuff like that.
Severance, that sort of thing, yeah.
You don't get severance. You don't any of that stuff. You don't even get to be part of some sort of a retirement plan. You got to do all that yourself. So if you don't get any of those benefits, the company doesn't get the benefits of, your intellectual property. If you invent something in the course of working for them, you almost have to think of it as a license issue. I created this, I own it, and I'm allowing you to use it. That's what the law is starting to look at, and it's starting to say, yeah, that's the case. Now, from a business standpoint, there's a reason for that too. Because if everything that's ever created is always belonging to these companies, then what incentive do you have to be creative? There's none. If you never have a right to your own intellectual and what is intellectual property? It is your intellectual work and effort.
Why?
It's what went on inside your brain. Disney company did not invent Spider-Man, okay? They own the property, they own the licensing of that character, but, well, it's a little more complicated than that. But they did not invent it, kind of like that politician once said, you didn't create that, and that's what it is. And if you cut off everybody who's a creator, they're going to go, well, fuck you. I'm never going to create anything for you. And then you're just going to be regurgitating the same stuff over and over again. And that's what you've seen happening in Hollywood. This is why you see, well, why can't they, start making something new? Why do they always have to remake and remake and remake? It's because nobody wants to invent anything anymore because there's no incentive to. If I create something, they'll steal it from me. So fuck them. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, we were talking about this a while back with the gentleman that created the Winter Soldier villain for the Captain America comic.
Right.
Now, was the contention with that, was he working for Marvel and didn't have the rights?
I didn't follow that specific case, so I can't speak to that.
Because it's either that, so because then he can't get royalties from it when they put it in a movie, and that was what the complaint was about. And what's the incentive to create a new Captain America villain if you're not going to be able to get any kind of residuals from making that for the
exactly right
in the future?
So if we focus for a second though on the Friday the 13th thing, this is the guy who wrote the first movie, right? So he's saying, I wrote this story. I created the character of Jason Voorhees, right? I created, his backstory. I created, the concept, okay? This is where the rights start to get a little, and they've been funky for a while, right? Because he wrote and created the character. But you're seeing the same thing with Spider-Man too. Well, I created Spider-Man. Yeah, but you didn't create that suit and that look and, the origin story and all
the
this.
The hockey mask belongs to us.
Yeah. So, and that's just it. The idea of the hockey mask and the machete and Jason doing that. Because remember, first movie, Jason didn't kill a single person.
In the second movie, he's not even wearing the hockey mask. He has the burlap sack over his head.
Exactly right. So these are going to be considerations from a licensing standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, the toys and the collectibles and the costumes and stuff. But the right to the actual character, though, the original first story. But see, and this is why they try to reboot and remake, right?
Look, you have to make it 25% different.
You got to make it a little bit different. We remake
instead
the
of
first
Jason,
movie.
he'll be called Jay's son. Okay, his
Jay's
father was
son.
Jay.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
But here's the downside to that, though, right? And you see it happening with, and this is what people are saying right now about Marvel. Well, this explains Ironheart and the Asian Hulk and all these other new characters, right? These are new characters, right? But they're new characters nobody gives a crap about. Okay? So, congratulations, you own this lock, stock, and barrel, and it's an empty barrel. You own nothing, right? Maybe it's time for you to start thinking like Warner Brothers and CBS, come to an agreement so that both sides make money instead of both sides having nothing.
Well,
it's time to start putting enough money into something to make the big bucks on the other end, because otherwise you keep trying to be as cheap as possible, you're going to make nothing and you're going to go out of business. Especially the way the market is right now.
Look at the recent He-Man debacle. Like, I wonder if a lot of the problems of the series were caused by the fact that they couldn't make him look like the toy character, right?
Yeah,
They had
that
to
was a
keep-
big speculation that they had to make certain
like
changes.
his body doesn't look the same. Like his body is all like the not the ideal bodybuilder type from the '80s. It's like some hulked out version of He-Man, and not the classic like.
But the worst part of it is they're trying to play both sides of it. Instead of saying this is a reimagining, you have the Crying Man come out and say, "Oh no, this is a direct sequel to that cartoon series you grew up with and loved so much."
that I loved so much growing up. Right?
Whatever, fuck him.
They're always big fans of things, even when they're not.
But the fact is, when you watch it, you're like, no, it's not. This absolutely is not. And then you come to find out, oh, you don't have the rights to that. So that's why he said it was the spiritual successor to. It's mealy mouthed way of saying something that's not true at all.
Anyway, it should be interesting though. See if this might set a precedent going forward. I'm very curious to see how this will impact the MCU.
I just dropped a video about some NECA action figures that I picked up, and now I'm hoping that this will result in the re-release of these kinds of action figures. Because as I said in my video, unless I can ever get a reasonably priced Mego scale Jason, I'll never be able to reconstruct Jason versus Freddy in the Mego scale in a diorama or something.
Well, it'd be cool if they released it.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so box office news. Venom, Let There Be Carnage races past 100 million domestically. I don't know how I feel about this because I'm not a fan of Venom. I'll say this. I don't really see Venom as being woke. I just see it as being kind of an inconsistent, weird franchise, which...
I mean, there's a lot of comic book fans like myself that are going, you took a villain of Spider-Man's.
No, he's really an anti-hero, and I'm like, even if he becomes that, he didn't start out that way.
He absolutely started out as a villain.
Yes.
He absolutely started out as a villain. And he evolved, that's true, but his origin was he was a villain. Okay, just like the Suicide Squad. All of those characters started out as villains. We never got to see that. They jumped ahead to them being mercenary anti-heroes. So you don't care about the mercenary anti-hero because you didn't see the growth in the character. Same thing with Venom. You got a Spider-Man villain who is neither a villain nor had any connection to Spider-Man.
I know. But regardless, I am at least happy that it's beating out the competition, considering one of those movies I'm wanting to fail. But anyway,
what movies? I didn't even know there was anything else out.
No Time to Die is out, and I heard that Venom raced past it.
Yeah.
And it didn't do the big North American box office that people thought it was going to do. No spoilers, please. But
no,
we're getting to the point where it's getting the worst kept secret of the internet.
What I will say is this. Let's, because you also brought it up when you said that Venom wasn't a woke film. We are seeing more and more that audiences are directly rebelling against woke films and films that are marketed as woke. This is killing these films. So everything I have heard, and I can't give any spoilers because I haven't seen this James Bond movie, but everything I've heard is that it's not the woke fest that it was marketed as. But I think the audience is saying, we don't give a crap. This is what you said it is. That's not what I want. I'm not going to patronize it. So I think Hollywood is getting the message loud and clear. Get woke, go broke. It is absolutely true. You don't have to believe it. We keep bringing the receipts over and over again.
Oh, Venom was meant to be what if Spider-Man got his powers but didn't have the same sense of responsibilities. I don't know. This is... Oh, you mean the character? Yeah, maybe. Because he's out for...
I don't think that's what it was meant to be, but it's certainly what it became. I agree with you.
Okay, Sony's Venom Let There Be Carnage crossed the 100 million market on Tuesday. North American box office, another win for Sony and director Andy Serkis. The sequel achieved the feat for 5 days to finish Tuesday, with a domestic total of $102.1 billion. I think Clownfish TV was talking about this earlier. They're getting tired of hearing the excuse, this movie is doing well for the pandemic, okay?
That
No,
argument doesn't-
this movie is doing well regardless of pandemic or no.
I'll tell you
pandemic,
what,
so
a movie
stop using
that-
that for an excuse that your movie sucks and it didn't.
A
do
movie
well.
that does
Okay.
poorly in Australia and California. Excuse me, California. Well, same thing. Australia and Canada, you can make that argument. Okay, you could say, well, it's because of all the lockdowns. That's absolutely true. Script Doctor, who lives in Canada, was saying specifically, there's a whole bunch of movies coming out that I will not be able to go to the theater to see because I cannot, because of lockdowns. There's nothing that those places can do about that. But here in the United States, you absolutely can go see movies, and people are going to see. I even said, Nanette and I, whatever happens between now and November, if we have to drive out of state, we are going to see Ghostbusters in the theater.
Yeah. But yeah, it said Venom here scored a massive victory with the film industry when it launched last weekend to 90 million.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest 3D opening of the pandemic era. And it said 2018 Venom started off with a 80.2 million domestically and crossed 100 million on its sixth day. So this sounds like it's comparable to what happened with the original Venom a few years ago, right?
Yeah, which is great for a sequel. I mean, as much as I don't care for Sony's Marvel films and I don't care for Venom, you cannot take away from it what it has done in dollars. And I think that speaks volumes to a couple things. First, as much as I don't care for what Sony's doing with Marvel's characters, they're right now doing better than Disney is with Marvel.
Well, it's not what they don't do what Disney does. Sony is really just out for the money, okay?
And that's a good thing. I always argue that's a good thing.
Yeah. My only issue is that the characters they're using are villains because they don't know how to... They can't use Spider-Man in these movies yet. Maybe
I was just going to say, in fairness, they're working with what they have to work with. I can give them that.
I foresee a day is going to come when probably we'll see Tom Holland showing up in these movies. I think he'll leave the MCU and come over to the Sony side of things. I suspect that's what's going to happen, but I don't know. But if
there is one character that can do that, it's Spider-Man. Because although Spider-Man has historically, crossed over with the Avengers and Fantastic Four and whatnot, he's pretty much been his own thing. Yeah. And pretty much separate from the rest of the Marvel Universe. So that's fine.
With apologies to Mr. Twain, the death of movies has been greatly exaggerated, Sony film chief Tom Rothman said when commenting on Venom 2's opening take.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
So
I think this is a definite... This is one of several things that we'll be talking about that is a true testament to the theaters are not dead. People want to go to the cinema. If our governments would get their heads out of their collective asses and quit trying to tighten their grip, these things would be taking off.
Yeah, so it looks like, I don't know. So good on Sony. They have Ghostbusters coming out later on. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Ghostbusters is going to leave everything else in the dust.
You know what's coming out in early November? We have the Eternals. I want to see Eternals box office comparisons to Venom. They're both Marvel properties.
That's good.
Let's see how because I want to see how much, because even Shang-Chi, they were acting like it's good for the pandemic. I mean, what did Shang-Chi ultimately do? I don't remember now, but I'm waiting on the Eternals. Let's see. It wasn't good for the pandemic.
That's the funny thing. That's what they're trying to say.
They always
but all the analysts are going, no, this wasn't even good for the pandemic. This wasn't good for anything.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Nobody cares, Actually, I'm going to suggest that you skip over the next one and go to the.
Okay.
Because it's thematically related, I'd say.
Aside from maybe Fantastic Four, the major character who should have crossed over Spider-Man is Daredevil. I think there's a rumor floating around that the Charlie Cox might be that's his name, right? The one who was in the Netflix series might be showing up in the next Spider-Man movie, but I don't know. It's a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but he was great as Daredevil.
He was.
He really was. I'd like to see even Vincent D'Onofrio show up as the Kingpin.
Right?
I'd love him as the Kingpin in a Spider-Man movie.
I did too.
Oh, because I always associate Kingpin more with.
I gotta say, I liked Michael Claude Duncan as Kingpin.
Yeah, he was good. I mean,
but I really felt that that D'Onofrio. And it's not just the actor. It's the writing. They got Kingpin. But then again, it's kind of unfair to take one movie as opposed to a long series.
You got to see the character.
You got a lot more character development in the series, but that was some great development for that character.
You learn about his childhood.
Yeah,
it's funny. Both he and Daredevil came from kind of crappy childhoods.
Yep.
They
and that's the intentional, comparison. It's like there you can blame your background, but it's what you choose to do that really shapes who you are.
It's interesting. That's almost the same thing with like Luke Cage and Cottonmouth on that other Netflix show too. Yeah, because it's funny that right when I was feeling sympathetic to Cottonmouth, they removed the character from the show basically.
Yeah,
But let's see though. This next one though, The Spice Flows as Doom passes 100 million at the international box office. It's doing well.
And actually, I have the update below that. The actual number as of Saturday
103.
was 103.9 million.
So the next thing is to see how it's going to do over here. Now, I have a question. Does HBO Max viewership enter into this at all? If it comes out over here, is Warner Brothers going to add that number in? Like, how would that work? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Because I'm sure a lot of people would pick up HBO Max just to watch this movie if they didn't want to go to a theater, right? So I don't know.
I suppose, but I know that we will get the numbers for the cinema. So if we just focus on the cinema and forget the streaming, I think that plus the international box office is going to give us a good indicator of how good it really is going to do.
Directed Denis Villeneuve's latest big budget sci-fi epic adapted from complex but incredibly influential story. It's not much of a stretch to say that the entire project came with built-in expectations. Okay, yada yada yada. I understand this. Okay, but
really,
Warner Brothers may have found out the hard way that fear is indeed the mind killer, but a hefty sum of box office profits in the early going could be the exact shot of confidence the studio needs to help justify such an exorbitant production. Okay.
And a lot of people are really
it sounds like it has legs. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people are really bothered by the fact that we're getting these international releases months before we get them over here, and vice versa, right? With Venom, it was released here many months before it's being released overseas. And yes, I understand you have to deal with things like spoilers and blah, 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 and this and that.
Well,
with Dune, I'm sorry, there are no fucking spoilers. Okay,
if you read the book, you know the spoilers. You know it's
and two other film adaptations already. Yes. We know the story basically. Okay,
we want to see how it's going to be.
The only thing we don't know is very minutia type things, like, well, what was the cutoff point? Where does this story end before, we're going to get the sequel? And, does so-and-so character show up in it? No? Okay, well, that makes sense because of where they're cutting. These are not spoilers to me. These are just minor curiosities,
Dune is a movie I'm interested in and really want to see at theaters, and that is rare for me. I just like going to theaters. I am going to say this, Mr. Matchstick, from what we've heard, this really is a wonderful theatrical experience.
I've even been hearing that not only do you want to see this in the theater, this is one you're going to want to see at IMAX. I'm not a big IMAX fan. I'm not usually one to pay a little bit extra for that IMAX experience. This one sounds like it's the type that I will.
Yeah. And I'm anti-HBO Max and anti-streaming. It's funny.
So go see it at the theater. There you
go see it at the theater. But for the past few weeks, let's be honest with you, I've been ragging on HBO Max. But if I have to look around.
Do we have a convert in our midst?
I think that what HBO Max is doing might be what the other streaming services say they're going to do, and they don't do it. Whereas I think a lot of the Warner Brothers back catalog is on there. I don't think it's like Paramount Plus where I have to go on there and I can't find the Star Trek movies or they circle out the stuff. I think when I type in a movie, a Warner Brothers movie in HBO Max, I tend to find it. Like I typed in Dirty Harry, it's there. Type in Enter the Dragon, it's there.
Yeah.
All the Batman movies are there. So I mean, they even have stuff like the Super Friends on there. Okay, the old
Super Friends.
So I don't know. I might be warming onto HBO Max. I mean, Jason Killer. I mean, people like me were screaming bloody murder at him for the day and date thing. That's one of the reasons why we are getting Dune later, was because they didn't want it to come stream out here first, because then it would be streaming, and they were worried about piracy, especially now that it's gotten a release over in China. It got approved for release over in China, and right now it's a major holiday time where a foreign production wouldn't get. Seems like we're having to tiptoe a lot around China just to get stuff out over there, but
I think that's changing, though. I think that
we still want this one to do well, though.
At
so
this point, China,
okay.
if we get a release of a film in China, it's just gravy, and that's the way we always should have treated it.
And I think that's how it used to be treated.
It
so
was.
Oscar gets in there, and then
but you had these dumbasses that started thinking, "Hey, this is such a big."
And I blame Iger for that. I think he was the one that had
he was a dumbass. He said,
Yeah.
"Hey, we could double our money." No, you don't understand. You've got to count your costs, right? Remember, people don't realize this. You release a movie over in China, you make a quarter of your money back. Okay, China keeps the lion's share of it, and they have all these restrictions on what can and can't be in it. So you really have to make a whole different movie for China than you do for the United States. And you're only making a quarter of your money. Is it worth it? No. What you do is you make a movie for all the rest of the world. And if China wants to play it, you take your 25% off of that, and it's just gravy.
Yeah.
The fact that Dune is going to be able to be released in China as is, and they make 25% off the box office there, that's just gravy. Honestly, everything that Dune has made, this $103.9 million internationally, is gravy. They haven't even made $1 yet here in the United States. And I think in the United States, it's going to blow that out of the water.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Keep my fingers crossed on this release. I want good movies again.
Yeah.
And I will say this, though.
It's a movie that should make everybody happy. It should make the fans of Dune happy, and it should make the pink-haired weirdo social justice warriors happy, too. Because it already was that. It's a good story that has all of those messages that they want already lock, stock, and barrel part of it.
Yeah. Okay. But,
Anyway, so far, all of this that we've shared, in my opinion, good news. Good news, or potentially good news, in my opinion.
I have my fingers crossed for Dune. I think this is a very good sign. I think if it can do good decently over here, and maybe even pick up some money in China, I think we'll get.
My question is, how well is it going to be marketable? Okay, because I've heard them talking about the studio saying they want this to be their Star Wars. That's fine. But for something to be your Star Wars, are you going to have action figures? Are you going to have role-play toys and stuff? I have a hard time imagining, somebody wanting to dress up in a... Yeah. I mean, what is the weapons of Dune? Knives and slug throwers. These are not the ray guns and lightsabers of Star Wars. That's exactly why they put the weirding module into the David Lynch film. Because they figured, okay, well, Star Wars has lightsabers. We're going to have a sound weapon. It actually was a great idea, but it has nothing to do with the actual story of Dune. It was totally a marketing piece.
Well, we'll see. It's like I said, I'm a big fan of the Lensman Chronicles, but a lot of the warfare in that is done by telepathy. Okay, I don't know.
Right. How do you have an action figure for that, right?
I know exactly. I mean, the
and I could see a whole line of action figures for Dune. I could even see some vehicles, but really, I mean, think about the vehicles. Ornithopter, sure, but it's not like there's a lot of dogfights that involve the ornithopters, right? And ground vehicles, what, you're going to get a spice mining vehicle? I mean, that's like a Tonka truck. I mean, But I could totally see Hasbro doing a HasLab for a giant sandworm. One that can't stand up on its own.
Can you see little girls dressing up like a Bene Gesserit? I see adult women dressing up like handmaids from The Handmaid's Tale. And yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. That's something that needs to go away anyway.
It really is. really is. Don't even get me on, because if I start on that, I'm going to start on a my body, my choice rant.
Okay. Yes,
And
exactly.
the stick, you know. So.
Gotcha. Okay. But we have some other news going on in the world of science fiction. For all you geeks out there, you nerds. Here you go, nerds. We got some new stuff for you. Okay, I'm kidding. New books starring Luke and Lando, Obi-Wan and Anakin, and more revealed. What's that?
Okay, so
no, I'm going to read.
Go ahead and read it.
What do you know?
Well, you ask a question. It sounds like you're asking for an answer.
You made like you were going like. That's what I heard coming out of your mouth. I don't know. I'm going to read these to you. Okay.
Don't assume you know what I'm going to say about this.
I don't know what you're going to say.
I know, so quit reacting like you do.
It's going to go away of two ways. Okay. Some essential Star Wars stories are coming to our galaxy. StarWars.com is thrilled to reveal 4 new books featuring never
Stop
before.
Like an old married couple.
Yeah, well, we're Geeky Geezers. What do you expect?
Okay. Anyways, never before told tales from across the Star Wars saga. Star Wars: Shadow of the Sith, a novel from author Adam Christopher, takes place after Star Wars: Return of the Jedi and finds Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian on a mission to locate Exegol. The novel Star Wars Brotherhood by Mike Chen follows Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker amidst the chaos of the Clone Wars and Skywalker's rise to Jedi Knight. Star Wars Stories of Jedi and Sith, a new middle-grade anthology, features adventures from 10 acclaimed authors, and the young adult novel Star Wars Padawan by Kirsten White depicts Obi-Wan in his early days as a student of Qui-Gon Jinn. Check out the official synopses and release dates for all below. Do you have any comments so far?
Am I allowed?
Read these. You're allowed, yes.
Okay. So, first, I'm going to ask who is the audience for this, right? If you're writing a book that takes place after Return of the Jedi, but it involves searching for a planet called Exegol, a planet from the sequel trilogy, you're writing a story for Raylos. You're writing a story for people that. This is what I meant. If you're not going to let me say my opinion, then you're not.
State your opinion. State your opinion. I apologize.
So
Raylos, you left off Raylos. Okay.
Absolutely. So we know that the sequel trilogy lost money. We know that Solo Star Wars story lost money. We know that anything that Disney Star Wars has done has been crap, unless Jon Favreau was behind it. Okay, so we definitely see fans responding well to good Star Wars. We see nobody responding to the Rey, Palpatine, and Rose Tico. So, but here's the other thing, and I've pointed this out before. I think that the books, Disney shot themselves in the foot when they took all of the beloved legends and jettisoned them and said, that's all non-canon. Forget about all that. Everything we do now is going to be canon. Well, now when you put out a book, people are going to go, you know what? I know it's not canon, so I'm not going to bother. No. This book is canon. Yeah, your movies aren't even canon. We see that from what we're seeing in The Mandalorian. So why should we care? And you might get some dumbasses, going, I'm looking for, a Star Wars book. Let me buy that. And then they read it and they go, oh, this is shit. And then they don't get any more books.
I am hoping that there will be a chapter that shows Luke trying for the first time the sacred drink from the tit of the space otter, like.
Oh man!
Like he'll see some guy.
You're kind of making my point, though. Yeah.
And he'll lick his lips and be like, "What's that?"
This is good. Reminds me of the blue milk that Aunt Beru used to serve.
Before she died, and it was all my fault, or he'll say some comment like that. It's just, I'm sorry. Apparently, the publishing win is still these books are still. This is all High Republic crap. That's
keep in mind that these things are already in the pipeline, and the work's already been done. So they're going to release them and try to make whatever money they can, and they're not going to sell at the cover price, and then they're going to end up at Ollie's, marked down, and still not move. You know, I mean, I listen to Stephanie Janishek and so many others who are saying, look, I just saw a whole aisle of these books at Ollie's, and they've been there for weeks, and nobody has bought a single one of them.
Do you think this is supposed to confuse people who are getting into the EU and they see Luke Skywalker on the cover and,
No.
you know?
No, they're not that clever. They're not even that clever. This is just them trying to put out stuff to make money, and it's not making money. And that's a good thing, okay? That sends a message to them. The shit they're putting out is not going to make them any money. It's just bullshit. And, you know, and this brings me back to the EU stuff that I was talking about. The legends, the, you know, whatnot. Favreau and Filoni are treating it the way they should. They're looking at it and they're going, you know what? There was great potential here, but not all of it was good. So we're going to mine it for the gems, and we're going to leave the chaff behind. Okay, so this is why we get, you know, they didn't outright canonize the holiday special, but Life Day is a thing, you know, and, guess what? Everyone loves Boba Fett. We're bringing back Boba Fett. And they've pretty much canonized some of the stories from the legends that explained how he came back, and Cobb Vanth and all this other stuff. But they're saying, yes, all that stuff is great raw material. We're going to refine it and give you the true canon, you know? So yes, the Boba Fett and the Cobb Vanth and all that really happened, but this is the exact specific way how it happened, you know? And I think that's a good thing. And I think, like I said, I honestly believe that Kathleen is out the door. Her story group is out the door. They are no longer contributing to this stuff, but they've already created a backlog of stuff that is going to work its way into the market, because it's better to try and make a couple bucks off of it than just throw it in the garbage.
Like that Chuck Wendig series that came out, Aftermath, and all that.
Yep.
Space Otter, don't sell otters that way, Agent Boomer. Okay, well, whatever. Force destroying the milk of space. Okay, it was a space manatee. Whatever the heck that thing was. The walrus or whatever it was. I never needed to see that scene, okay? At any rate, no, these books, maybe stay away from these books, okay?
I would. I absolutely would. I mean, wait. When it comes to books, and I think most people know this, okay? When it comes to these Star Wars books, some are shit, some are classics, okay? So wait until you have someone that you respect say, hey, go check out that Timothy Zahn trilogy, okay? Right. Heir to the Empire and those, go read those. Those are good books. But this High Republic stuff, forget that shit.
I gotta say this though. This last line: celebrate Star Wars reads throughout the month of October. I guess they're releasing it because October is, of course, Star Wars reads month. I'm just gonna say that perhaps maybe I work for a library system in the United States, and that perhaps there was a celebration of Star Wars reads one year, and a coworker of mine was making up the stuff, and she said, "Does Yoda have any quotes?" Because she wasn't really a Star Wars fan, about reading and reading books and things. And I'm thinking, I have never once, in any of the cartoons I've seen or the movies, this was before Last Jedi came out, I have never once seen anyone in Star Wars read a book. Okay? That's what dawned on me at that moment. I'm sure there are books, and I'm sure there's been stuff explained since then, probably in the...
I was going to say, the only time I've seen books in Star Wars was in the sequel trilogy.
I'll say this, on Star Trek, people read books.
And they burned the books. They literally burned the books.
Well, yeah, in the sequel trilogy, yeah, that was Yoda just having a laugh, because that's Yoda. That's the Yoda we've all grown to know and love, right? In that movie, and you didn't see the third one. This is what.
No, I did not.
The third one is so bad that, like, the Rise of Skywalker, it's different bad than Last Jedi. I can't explain it. It's like all the worst tendency of Abrams in a movie. It's
I can't believe they let him have a TED talk to talk about his stupid mystery box.
Yeah.
Ted Connors did a really great He-Man short for Midnight's Edge. It's Skeletor in Snake Mountain or whatever, and he's telling Beastman, I have got this new thing that is definitely going to help me defeat He-Man. Oh, what is it? It's a mystery box I got from J.J. Abrams.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, what is it? It's a mystery box. Well, what does it do? I don't know. It's a mystery.
That's up for other writers to figure out, but I can take the credit for it. That's basically what a mystery box is. Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Wow, that second, man, the second and third of the sequel trilogy movies were so brilliant, JJ, and it was all started with the stuff you had preconceived in Force Awakens. I know, but those gents that followed me did a great job, and of course that's not what happened. I think one YouTuber listening once said that I think it was David Stewart. He said that that J.J. Abrams set up mystery boxes and Ryan Johnson pooped in all the mystery boxes. Okay.
Well, and this is the benefit of mystery box. Like you said, I don't have to come up with something. I can take the credit for someone else doing it. But then when it's shit, I can blame it on them and say, you know what, that was Ryan Johnson. I did the best I could with the shit he left me in my mystery box.
Oh God.
So you get all the benefits and none of the downsides.
Okay. So we got this is the next one. Should I go right into it? We were talking about China, right?
Yeah.
Okay. China will ban video games that feature gay relationships or allow players the choice of being good or evil. That's kind of a wide berth there.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read a bit. Okay, in a leaked memo, Beijing has given new instructions to China's game developers. Effeminate males, moral options, and anything deemed historically inaccurate will also be banned under new guidelines on China's $32 billion industry. The move is the latest in a wider cultural crackdown led by President Xi Jinping. Pooh Bear, okay?
By Pooh Bear,
okay,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. In August, children were limited to playing video games to 3 hours a week. Yeah, that's not fun. Okay, China will ban video games that feature gay relationship, effeminate males, and allow players the choice of being good or evil. In a leaked memo, Beijing said it no longer sees games as entertainment, but instead as a form of art that must promote what it considers correct values and an accurate understanding of history and culture. As such, the ban will also prohibit video games that involve the conquest of barbarians or attempt to alter history of the powers that be that were in World War II. So, for instance, if you have a game like one of the later Wolfenstein games that came out recently where the Yazis basically won the war and you're fighting the resistance in the future because of time travel. Of course, time travel, they don't like that, okay? You know, or stuff like Command and Conquer. Okay, that wouldn't be good over there, okay? But yeah, in August, China limited children to 3 hours a week of online gaming, and what it said was another attempt to curb addiction. That was not very popular, by the way, from over there, from what I heard. Okay,
I would imagine not.
The new memo gives a series of guidelines to game developers in China or those developing for the Chinese market. That's the important line there. Under the new rules, characters must have a clear gender, and plots cannot have blurred moral boundaries. It adds, if regulators can't tell the character's gender immediately, the setting of the characters could be considered problematic and red flags raised. Any game that encourages players to kill barbarians could be thought of as spreading colonialism, and those that feature Japanese warlords will likely be viewed as jingoistic and glorifying militarism. Okay, games can't distort facts or deliberately provoke controversy, and historical figures with established narratives must not be refashioned, the memo said. Okay, it goes on. This is what's very interesting to me about this whole thing. As you know, the gaming industry in the West, a lot of it is centered around California. Okay, especially a lot of things in the San Francisco area. Okay, and in recent years, there has been a lot of push of LGBTQ activism in games. There's been a push of let me see what I'm going to say. Also, like a lot of, there's been a lot of attacks on Japanese developers for making games with women that are too sexy and stuff like this. Now you have China almost giving an opposite guideline, okay? And I'm not saying their guidelines are correct either, you know what I'm saying? But
right.
who's going to bend first? This is my curiosity, because Square Enix, they bended on one of the last Final Fantasy games they made. In the game, one of the religions of this empire that you're in worship these deities that had skull faces. They had to take that out of the game because they don't like skulls in China, so they had to completely redo what they did in that game to satisfy the Chinese market. But then again, now the developers are now trying to satisfy the wokesters, the wokosos out in California. But now
Right.
China is now pushing back on this other end by screaming about effeminate men. That's been banned recently. And I'm not saying what China is doing is right either, but it's like everybody is now trying to enforce their own moral code in these games. So what do you think?
Well, this is very interesting. I do want to go to what you were saying about how the Wokosos are going to receive this, right? Because on the one hand, this is socialist China. This is the socialism they want, right? And so they think this is, anything China does is great. And then they see China do this, which is the exact opposite of, their inclusiveness and their, representation and stuff. And they realize, that's in quotes problematic, to use their term, right? On the other hand, I am a libertarian. I am not in favor of these kinds of authoritarian, you can't do this, and censorship and all that kind of stuff. You're like me.
There should be artistic expression.
But at the same time, China is keying into these things that are hurtful to society, right? Yeah. They are aware of how corrosive things like, blurring gender lines and, blurring morality, all of that kind of stuff really destroys a society. That I agree with. That I understand. I don't believe that you should enforce that at the point of a bayonet, but you should value what you value, right?
Interesting.
Exactly. So,
I've just been thinking. I used to love the show called The Americans, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's about this husband and wife that were Russians living over here during the 1980s, posing as Americans.
I saw an episode of it.
It's an excellent show. The wife was a hardcore believer in communism, hardcore Soviet communism. I didn't get that impression from the husband, but I think he was loyal to Russia. He was a nationalist. What's best for the Russian people. The Americas, of course, the United States was the big, quote unquote enemy of the Soviet Union at that time, right? So that's where he was coming from. Not necessarily that he was a true believer in all this communist stuff, because there are certain things he liked about the United States, like he liked the cars and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
Actually, it was funny. They made a point on the show. The vodka here isn't as good, but their cigarettes are better. That was a funny thing. But yeah, this is interesting to me, though. But I'm wondering too. There is probably at some level China, I'll be honest with you, I don't completely understand them. I think I want to say a lot of this is coming from some sort of nationalist viewpoint. Whereas
absolutely it is. Absolutely.
In the West and California, they're wanting to tear down the nation to replace it with something else. So I wonder how this is going to jive. Who are they going to bend the knee to? Are they going to make different versions of the games for China as opposed to here? Because usually they've just been chopping up whatever the Chinese didn't want, they would just cut out.
Well, here's the funny thing, though.
For all versions, okay?
I did just say that I'm not in favor of this kind of authoritarian, editing and stuff. But at the same time, could have a positive impact on the games.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
You're not going to have the woke BS like we did with The Last of Us and all that.
Well, here's what I think is going to happen. Everyone's going to be unhappy. That's what I think this is going to lead to, because
probably.
And maybe just people should just be allowed to make the stuff they want to make and stop worrying about either satifying the Wokosos.
Although here's an interesting side thing,
and just leave it alone. Like, I don't care that The Last of Us exists. I don't want to play it, but. Don't same people attack something Japanese that I like and then censor it, okay?
Consider what could happen if they make the games to fit China's mold and then they sell really well in the United States because the gamers are like, I'm glad you don't have a bunch of woke bullshit here.
I know, but there's still stuff in China. Like I didn't like that crap they pulled with that Final Fantasy game. Like they're very like they don't like ghosts. I wonder how Ghostbusters is gonna. They're probably gonna bother selling it over there. They don't like stuff having to do with time travel, so they have their own restrictions beyond these other the LGBTQ stuff, and of course the effeminate men and whatever else they're complaining about. I just think it's interesting, and I wonder who's going to bend the knee in this fight. Okay, I don't
Well,
know.
I would say that, well,
They,
you know,
they could simply just not sell the games in China, and that would be end of
I was
that.
just going to
Okay?
say money talks is what
Yeah.
happens. So they're going to find themselves in the same situation. The game companies, I mean, are going to find themselves in the same position as Disney. If you want to sell to China, then you've got to sell out to China. And you're going to make your pittance back from them because, you know, they get the lion's share because you're literally the best you can get is a 50-50 split.
Right.
You know, you get all your money in the United States, you get half of it at best in China because you are in direct partnership with the CCP. See,
I'm almost wondering who's going to be more draconian in what they expect developers to put in the content. For instance, I'll make a point. The Sony Games division over in California, they're very stringent in what they allow on their platforms. They will go after Japanese companies if they make women too sexy and stuff like that. Okay, even though they're complying with the ratings board, the general ratings board in the gaming industry. And now you have the CCP also putting their set of standards too. So I'm just
but you can
wondering, yeah.
argue, you could argue though that if you're making a game, you have a choice. You have a choice in what you put in your game. And if you want to create a game that is this way and deals with these subjects and whatnot, by all means, go for it. And sink or swim based on how it sells. If you choose to do business with China, if you choose to do business with Japan and their IPs, you don't have 100% say. It's not yours.
No, but that's the thing. That's what I think. There's always been this saying that we think that by putting our popular culture over there, that we're going to be influencing China. But it often seems like they're influencing us more than we're influencing them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I absolutely do.
And
I think it's very clear that we've seen that. I think that's exactly what Iger thought when he was getting in. Oh, we'll make all this extra money in China. He had no idea what he was getting into.
Don't think there aren't people in Silicon Valley that would love a social credit system in the United States like they got in China. I know.
I'm telling you, my grandfather knew a lot of people that thought they could make good money by working with the local Italian businessman. And how did that work out for them?
No, it didn't work out well at all.
And this is no different. It's just on a bigger scale.
And here's another problem too. They're saying effeminate men and all this other stuff, but masculinity and femininity can be different across cultures. Okay,
true.
What is considered feminine?
Exactly.
Do you know if you watch a lot of anime, some of the like some anime, like if you have like a really like a good looking man that we might consider more feminine over here, he's actually considered more masculine over there, whereas the bodybuilder types are the ones that are considered more along the gay side. It's just a cultural thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's well, and if just from what I've seen, what little I've seen of anime, the big muscular guys also tend to be thought of as stupid.
Yeah, well, that could be cross cultural sometimes.
Yeah,
there was a wonderful line in an Italian horror movie called Demons 2 where like I think the implication was all the bodybuilders were dumb and like this. It's like 1980s bodybuilders, and like there's this scene where this one goes, hey, what does this say? And the guys look at the fire extinguisher. Oh, you're all muscle, no brain.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Anyway, I'm going to be interested to see who the knee gets bended to in this scenario. It should be interesting. It's kind of like on Game of Thrones, like when I used to watch it, and you eventually all the honorable characters that you like get killed off, and you're left with a bunch of villains for a period, and it's like, well, now the villains start attacking each other. It's like, right, okay, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. Captain Kirk. Excited?
Yeah.
I have my own thoughts on this one. This is. I know Jeff Bezos gets a bad press, probably for good reason, but
Yeah.
It's funny. Jeff Bezos is a guy that both the left and the right kind of hate in equal measure in this country. I'll say that because the stuff he pulled with Parler, but then also the left doesn't like him either. And it's. But here's an interesting thing. Captain Kirk, Bezos Blue Origins to send William Shatner into space. Okay.
Sure.
The actor who played Captain Kirk in the Star Trek series is set to embark on a real-life journey into space. U.S. tech billionaire Jeff Bezos' space travel company Blue Origin confirmed that William Shatner would be blasting off from Texas on the 12th of October. Age 90, the actor will become the oldest person to have flown into space. I've heard about space for a long time now. I'm taking the opportunity to see it for myself. What a miracle,
funny.
Shatner said in a statement. I know it's funny. Shatner will be he's a funny guy. I'm sorry. He has a genuine sense of humor. Okay. Shatner will be joining 3 other people aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket for the company's second human space flight. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos joined the first crewed flight in July, along with his brother, an 82-year-old pioneer of the space race, and an 18-year-old student. Okay. So, as with the previous flight, the October voyage expected to last about 10 minutes and will take the crew just beyond the Kármán line, the most widely recognized boundary of space, which lies 100 kilometers, 60 miles above the Earth. You know what I'm thinking when I'm reading this? I know it's for the good press, but do you think it's possible we have a first contact situation going on up there? And the extraterrestrial says we need to talk to the man in charge. And we know who that is.
And they decided to bring Captain
Kirk. We've seen the simulcasts. We didn't want to do Picard because we saw that last simulcast he was on. And it's not impressive at all. But no, Captain Kirk, William Shatner, Captain Kirk. That's who he may avert an intergalactic incident by going up on this thing. So, Godspeed to William Shatner.
You think we got a Galaxy Quest situation going on?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Oh, I love Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
It's funny when my dad, when I showed him Galaxy Quest, you know what he said? That's the best Star Trek movie I've seen in a long time, because he was not a fan of like the TNG movies they were putting out, but
that's funny.
He loved Galaxy Quest. He was a big fan of that. Okay, but good movie, Galaxy Quest. Star Trek star will not, however, be the first original cast member to leave the planet. Last year, the Times revealed that the ashes of James Doohan, who played Montgomery Scotty Scott, was smuggled on board the International Space Station in 2008, 3 years after Doohan's death. Okay. I met Scotty once. I met James Doohan once.
Both Gene Roddenberry and Majel Barrett's ashes went up in space too. Okay. It's just that Shatner is going to be the first Trek personality to go up live. Now, there was a NASA astronaut who appeared in an episode of Star Trek, but that's kind of the other way around.
Look at this. Shatner posted pictures of his flight suit on his Twitter about an hour ago.
Yep. I see it.
Okay. But you were saying, Troy, sorry, I didn't interrupt.
In fact, there's somebody missing from that picture, too. I heard that there was a woman that was going up with them who was originally supposed to be an astronaut many, many years ago and never got the opportunity to go.
Oh, well, that's nice.
But anyway.
I'll say this. This is positive spin for the company, unlike the last time. So, good on them. I wish them safe journey. It'd be cool if people can do these little trips to space, so I wish them well. And William Shatner is a class act. I'm sorry. He's a funny guy. He did I tell you they did a reality show once about him just redoing his house?
No, I didn't see that. It
starts out as like, space, I need more of it, and it's like,
that's funny.
It's funny, and the whole show, and they went into like his living room. It's like, oh my, it's like a 1970s bachelor pad in here. The shag carpet was like they had to redo like his living room. It was funny. Oh man, and it was a cool little reality show. But you got to see like William Shatner basically on a home improvement show, and even that he was funny on. He's just. I loved him on Boston Legal, and I don't know what else he's done since
TJ Hooker.
Besides that, TJ Hooker. I need to rewatch that. I used to watch that when I think Nickelodeon had it on for a bit with the repeats. Wasn't Heather Locklear on TJ Hooker?
It was. Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah, I'm now having an image of her in the police uniform, but I'm thinking something else. Like okay, but,
You have an image of her out of the police uniform.
yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Let's keep this a decent stream. How dare you? How dare you point
Okay,
out?
sure.
How
Let's
dare you
go on
point out
to
how attractive a woman is? Okay, it's wrong. It's
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. Let's keep this family friendly and talk about the L word
Man.
actress Jamie Clayton,
Clayton
starring
starring
as Pinhead in new Hellraiser movie.
Now, we talked about this a bit on Friday,
Yes,
so
we
we
did.
don't have to do a total rehash. But in a character that gender reverses an iconic horror movie character, Jamie Clayton, one of the stars of the L Word Generation Q, is starring as Pinhead in Spyglass's reboot of 1980s classic Hellraiser, proudly described as a loyal yet evolved reimagining of the movie based on Clive Barker's novella The Hellbound Heart. Barker expanded the story into a 1987 movie that he wrote and directed about a puzzle box that opens a gateway to a horrific world run by Cenobites, mutilated beings dedicated to torture and led by a prickly-headed man named Pinhead. Of course, you would argue that's not his name, but
Right.
Pinhead and his unique look has become central to the horror franchise, launched numerous movies, comics, and merchandise. The new Hellraiser recently wrapped up production, and Spyglass on Thursday has revealed the cast. Odessa A. Zion is starring alongside Clayton in the movie, which will debut on Hulu sometimes in 2022. Okay. Also announced was that Barker has boarded the project as a producer, joining Phantom Force David S. Goyer and Keith Levine. Also, a new producer is Mark Toberoff, the intellectual property attorney who has previously made headlines repping estates of comic creators such as Jack Kirby, Jerry Siegel, and Joe Shuster. David Bruckner, The Night House, is directing from a screenplay by Ben Collins and Luke Piotrowski with story by Goyer. I don't understand story by Goyer. If it's based on Barker's original work, isn't it story by Barker?
You just said it yourself.
Yeah.
Based on a story. It's not. Unfortunately, despite what everyone is trying to argue and saying, this is a back to form, they're not doing a remake of the movie. They're actually, going back to the original Hellbound Heart and so on and so forth. That is just their justification for the gender bending of this character. Now, I will say that is the thing that I have the least problem with. Okay, the idea of the Hell Priest, which is the actual name for the character, being an androgynous character, that the Cenobites, trying to apply gender to them doesn't make a lot of sense because their bodies have literally been torn apart and sewn back together again in, horrific ways. Gender may not apply to them any longer. That's fine. My problem is that when you have actually read The Hellbound Heart and then you watch the first two Hellraiser movies, there's actually an elevation of that story. There's a few changes that were made that and remember, Clive Barker actually wrote and directed the first film. Okay, so any changes that were made, he made. Okay, and some very key changes that he made, where he made the character of Kirsty, instead of being a friend-zoned, potential love interest for the married man, it's now his daughter. Okay, and
you thought that made a lot more sense in the movie.
I think it makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I mean, it's for a number of reasons that I won't get into. If you want more details, go back and check my Friday drunk stream, because it's always fun to listen to me after I've had a few drinks. But
you were cogent, though. I understood you fine.
Yeah, well, I'm getting used to the alcohol. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, the story it's all there. Okay. And some of the other things that I've been seeing, when I've seen some of the names of characters coming out that have been released, I'm saying, oh, that's that who is that character? That's not Kirsty. That's a character that never appeared in the Hellbound Heart and didn't appear in the previous movie. And I think they're doing something very, very different. I think this is going to be, I don't think the fans of the original films are going to be happy with this, and I don't think fans of Clive Barker's books are going to be happy either. And from what I'm hearing, Clive Barker is just an executive producer. So he's as much involved in this as Kathleen Kennedy was with E.T.
Yeah, I have a not so good feeling about this, but we'll have to wait and see till we get more information. As we've said on here, we do not judge things when they're announced. We were actually more hopeful when we first heard about this, remember? Now
Yes, I
maybe
was.
We're starting to maybe think,
Because I originally thought that because this is coming after we're talking about the original creator getting the rights back to something. Clive Barker has now gotten the rights back to Hellraiser. It's his now. And let's face it, he did the best work on it, and all those direct-to-DVD things, I don't think anyone gives a crap about whether they're canon or not, Nothing there that anyone cares about.
right.
But I don't know. I think we're just going to get a bunch of... he now owns the rights, and he's going to make the money off of more crap that people are going to be making.
It needs to stop. But anyway, if you want to see a good horror movie, may I recommend *Malignant* on HBO Max?
You really just keep stumping for that
I'm
one, don't
sorry. It's not long when I see. It's not often I see something new that I actually like. Like even that, it's like.
you? Do you own stock in the studio or something?
I don't. No, I don't. Here's what it was. My sister got HBO Max, and I'm like, well, they got the movies the day. Oh, it's in theaters and on HBO Max at the same time. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should take advantage of this. And I watched Cry Macho. I enjoyed it. Watched Many Saints in Newark. Flawed movie. I didn't hate it, though. And then I watched I watched *Malignant*, and I wasn't expecting anything from this. And like the first hour, it's James Wan, the guy who did the Conjuring movies. I think he did the first Saw movie. It's like typical Hollywood thriller horror, whatever. And then it takes a weird turn that put a big grin on my face, and I can't spoil it for you if you decide to watch it someday. But I just want to say, eighth wonder of the world. Okay, I have to give props. It's kind of over the top, kind of ridiculous, but it put a smile on my face. And if I'm going to say this movie is referencing anything in my mind, I think it's referencing William Castle movies. Do you know William Castle? Gentleman, he did like The Tingler.
I don't think so, but...
You never heard of him? He directed a lot of those movies in the 50s that had gimmicks, like, The Tingler, where, like the Tingler, you'd be in the audience.
Oh, sure. Okay. Now
it reminds me of that style of movie, done modern and, like, played completely straight as you can make it. Because the monster in it is almost ridiculous, but I just went with it. And I think the fact that I can see something so ridiculous in a big screen Hollywood movie, and that it's played straight, and like they're intending you to take it seriously, and I don't know if they're in on the joke or if they're not, but regardless, it gave me a chuckle and I enjoyed it. Okay, and if Hollywood can still make me smile or laugh, maybe there still doesn't deserve to be a Cinder right now. Okay, and point is, I liked it. Okay, that's all I'm going to say without spoiling the movie for anyone who may decide to watch it. Okay, but yeah. And maybe skip Hellraiser, but we'll see. Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. You never know, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Hearing crickets.
I mean,
okay. No.
I'm at this point. I am not super fired up, but we'll see.
I'm about as fired up for it as I am for that Day of the Dead TV series on Sci-Fi. Which may end up being better than this. I don't know, but. George Romero. He's no longer with us, so don't try to say you're doing a Romero series. He's not alive anymore.
Right.
You can't. Okay, but pretty cool. What do you have going on this week? I think that about wraps it up.
So let's see. I guess we're looking ahead to Friday. You and I will be doing a rewatch of the 1999 Brandon Fraser's The Mummy. I know that I've done a rewatch of this with Big Al some time back, but now we're going to be doing it in terms of the our reimagining of the Universal
And
Monsters Dark
gonna
Universe.
we're gonna be focusing a lot on the Imhotep character in this, I think.
Exactly.
Too, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Played by Arnold Vosloo, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
right. A great movie, and I think it's a great cornerstone for our little project. Saturday over on Netter's Network, we will be watching
Boom.
Baby Boom. Yes, Diane Keaton.
Baby Boom.
Yep.
Okay.
You remember that movie from I think it was the 80s?
I think so. That's not the look. Oh no, wait, that's Look Who's Talking. I'm confusing it with that. The baby doesn't talk in it, right?
No. No.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Cool.
And that's the week for me. What do we got going on your side? What about Wednesday? Anything with?
No, Birdman is on vacation this week. He's going to see the Grand Canyon, so wish him safe trip there. But he may have some stories to tell us when he gets back. Who knows?
Okay.
But he's going to the Grand Canyon, so no Omen movie this week. But I don't know how we're going to be able to fit all four into October, though. If we're doing, we could always just skip the final conflict. I'm just saying. Anyway,
I know. I like the movie. I'm sorry.
I know. I was just. I was expecting Armageddon is what I was expecting, and it kind of doesn't peter out. But again, I have Omen 4 on DVD now, so I can finally watch it. Does that clear things up? The made-for-TV Omen 4?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have you watched it yet?
I haven't. Is it going to be an eye-opener?
Faye Grant is in it.
Okay. Who's Faye Grant again?
From V.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. We'll see.
Love
and I keep watching Blake 7.
Yep.
Blake 7.
Blake 7 is good stuff.
I like it. I'm on season 2 now, so I'm plodding along. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. Thank you everyone that tuned in, and for those that were watching it on the repeat, we appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up if you can, though. I'd appreciate that. Leave a comment. I will do my best to respond to you. And cool. And be sure to subscribe to Troy and Netter's channel as well. Good stuff they got on there. Okay.
Yep. Thanks everyone.
And okay. All right. Y'all have a good night, and we'll see you next week. And may Bozo be with you. I'm sorry. Right? I don't know. That's not what how did Bozo sign off?
With the Grand March.
Okay,
so if you want to play some band music and march us out, we can absolutely do that. There you go.